Hello.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
How are you doing, my dear? We've got Umananda, Dr. Nazrana, Shantana. You need to put on your video. And one more person, Dr. Barua, has to join us.
Okay, so we're waiting on Dr. Barua. That's it. Everyone else is here?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Hi, good to see you again.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Lovely to see everyone.
Lovely to see you all.
So wonderful. So I'm going to take a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. We have a fascinating afternoon laid out for you just ahead. We are meeting some empowered women of Assam. We're also in celebration of Assam itself, a state blessed with the bounty of natural resources, beautiful women, as you can see, and men. And I'm going to hand you in the very trusted, beautiful, safe, graceful presence and hands of my dearest, dearest soul sister, Priya Vishwanathan. Priya is currently the general manager of AMA Stays and Trails, IHCL's branded homestays and trails, but she represents a whole lifetime, over almost 3 decades in the hospitality industry. I know she doesn't look it, but she's put in the years, miraculously so. And Priya has generously offered to moderate this beautiful session. We are so excited to meet all the speakers. So Priya, would you take us through this session, please?
Thank you, Mansi. You're
Pleasure.
the vibrant one, and thank you for being our host. We'll be having Sripana Barua, Dr. Sripana Barua. She's just joining us. So I'll start.
We can start, yes.
Yes, we can start. Actually, just wanted the whole audience to know why we are having this plenary. So
Yes.
I look after employability in the All Ladies League, and Shantana was my chapter chair in Assam, which she's moved on now to a larger role. But we wanted to bring out the story of Assam, and not that nobody knows the existence about Assam, but there is so much work that the ladies and the gents are doing out there. And we wanted to bring out that story of how they have brought about empowerment and amazing work done. The panelists was very hand-chosen. Shantana worked pretty hard in helping me to convince each one of them to come on board, because the ladies and the gentlemen are not the kind who want to come on this platform and talk about themselves. But we wanted to share with this august audience, which we know is across the globe, to hear about what each one has done out here. Assam's one of the most beautiful states in India. I've never visited it, but I have enough in terms of what I've been watching and seeing. And it's like Nazrana was telling me the other day. She says, Priya, you're taking up this topic of women empowerment, but the women in Assam are the safest in this country. And we're very empowered. The way a woman is in comparison to the other states of India, it's very different. It's culturally different. So I'd like to hear those stories from each one of them, because sometimes maybe because of the distance living in Bangalore, I don't know what's going on there. I'd like to start with introducing our panelists. We have Dr. Nazrana Ahmed. She is the first in the history of the tea industry of Assam to become the first woman planter to be elected as a chairperson of the Assam Tea Planters Association. So welcome, Dr. Nazrana. And thank you so much for taking this with us. I will wait for Sriparna to join in, so I will introduce her then. We have Dr. Shantana Saikia. She's an associate professor and head of the Department of English at Bahona College, Jorhat, Assam. She's also a writer, translator, ethnographic researcher, and trainer with the capacity building program of Women's Studies. Her recent research in folklore and translation of Assamese text has really got her into employability, and she's helped us put this whole chapter of the All Ladies League for employability in place in Assam. And there's immense work which has been done by the team. Last but not the least, we have this young gentleman who is an entrepreneur, Umananda Kalita, who's also an advertising professional, and he's been working in the handloom sector. And the reason why we have him on the panel today is because we want to hear about a woman's domain in Assam, because he works a lot with the textile and handloom industry. I'll wait for Dr. Barua to join in, but I'll start with my session of asking questions. This is not really asking questions, but to bring a perspective to all our audience. So I'll start with you, Shantana. Education is, I think, one of the most important aspects of how a woman can bring a change in the society. And we all have seen that societies have changed because of educating the mother, educating the woman out there. And lack of education has really brought about a lack of awareness about rights, about privileges, and it becomes actually a factor in deteriorating the women's social status. I want to understand from you, Shantana, and I know you've worked extensively in what is the role of higher education to address the issue of empowerment?
Hi, Priya. And hi, Mansi. So good to see you again. So good to connect. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Harbin. Thank you, Lakshmi and team, for this wonderful event. And thank you for having me over again. Okay, so Priya, your question is on empowerment of women through education, right? So, yeah, okay. So, education is a foundation or basis of empowerment is almost, well, cliche now. And it has been spoken about by great minds, over history we have seen. And in fact, female education, I have to take you back a little. Can you hear me? Am I audible? So I'm going to take you back a little because female education, you see. Can you hear me, Priya?
Yes, clearly. I was just trying to get Sriparna on the call. So she's there. Please continue, Shantana.
Sorry about that. So in fact, you see female education as a foundation or basis of women empowerment had begun in the 19th century, long back. And ever since, the process of nation building began in the 1950s after our independence, access to education for women has been stressed in the planning commissions, education commissions, committees, and it is linked, it's very important, to increased participation in the development process. So women's education is, as you have said, it's linked to a lot of things, healthcare, building of society. It is in this context that empowerment through education needs to be looked at and understood, I think. Okay. So before we go to the role of higher education, we need to, and women empowerment, of course, we have to look at the term empowerment. And as you have said, and rightly, I think you've mentioned that, or you wrote to me, that empowerment means moving from a position of powerlessness to power. We were discussing that. Okay. You're right. Absolutely. But power is so subjective. You see, it's a very subjective term. It can signify different things for different people. And this subjectivity arises because we cannot identify women as one homogeneous collective. All right, not just once emotional level, yes, biological, yes, but then again, we are divided into hierarchies and shaped by different social, economic, political, and cultural realities. Therefore, empowerment of women must also be analyzed through the lenses of these socio-economic and cultural variables, not just education. When we are talking about empowerment, like to give you an example, see, is being successful in one's career an indicator of empowerment? Okay, or does earning indicate empowerment? Unfortunately not, because we conduct a lot of surveys and studies and we see that many women who earn do not have the freedom to spend. So that is one thing we need to look upon. Okay, and then do we know how to ask for our rights, or do we even know our rights? So when we have the awareness and the courage to position ourselves within a certain social, economic, and political space and have a stake in the decision-making process, whatever level, home, your workplace, anyway, only then we can truly say to be like we are empowered. We can say that we are empowered, So And this awareness naturally comes with education. So I feel, and higher education, being in higher education, we do have a slight advantage in the sense that it gives us access to positions of decision making.
Sure.
And it opens up avenues of self-assertions if we can utilize it properly. Okay. And now you see, luckily, girls enrolled in higher education, as the number is increasing. We stand at almost 43% now. Still less. I'm talking about India, of course.
Great.
About women in higher education, we lag behind, you know. This AISHE, that is All India Survey for Higher Education, its portal registers about 900 universities, but we have about 33 women vice chancellors. So we just cannot say that only being highly educated or moving into higher education gives us empowerment. There's a lot more to the story. And now the good news has come that Professor Mins has been appointed as a vice chancellor of Murmu University and in Jharkhand. And then
Great.
again,
Shantana, I think that's a great perspective to what women can do with education. And I think you've been working pretty extensively on this field. Time permitting, I'd like to come back to you. I'd like to now move to Dr. Nazrana and ask her in a male bastion space of tea planters what you've achieved. I want you to really share with us the economic impact of the tea industry in Assam and the women's participation in this industry, because we've been speaking about it, but let's share it with the rest of the audience too.
Greetings of the day, greetings from Assam, Dibrugarh, Assam. Priya and Shantana, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation to the plenary session. And yes, in Assam, where I am based, and not far from where I am sitting today, the first tea plantation commenced, commercial tea plantation in 1837 in a place called Chabua. And the name comes, Cha plus Bua means to plant. And 1837, the first commercial tea plantation. So we have crossed more than 180 years. This industry almost going to be 200 years. And tea plant, there is a common conception that maybe the tea plant came from China. Yes, there is a botanical strain, Camellia sinensis, but we have our own wild tea plant, Camellia assamica, Camellia Assam. And the wild tea plant was discovered in 1823. Why I say discovered, it's not like the discovery of the New World, but why I say discovered is because it was Robert Bruce who was shown this tea plant by a Singpho tribesman. Singpho tribesmen are the indigenous tribes in the upper Assam tracts. And he was shown, and he took it to the botanical gardens in Kolkata, Calcutta then, Kolkata today. And there they were identified as an indigenous strain of the tea plant Camellia. And so they were called Camellia assamica. Now, that was in 1823, and from 1823, the first commercial plantation in 1837. And today, Assam has the largest contiguous tea growing area in the world. Largest contiguous tea growing area in the world. It is the third largest industry in Assam after tea and coal, but I'm happy to say that we are a carbon neutral industry. And we are the industry of the future, though we are almost 200 years old, we are the industry of the future. And that is something that I really enjoyed hearing today in the opening session when Her Excellency Violeta, European Commissioner of Transport, and she talked about ego to eco. And I was thinking, and here we are in a very diverse, very sustainable industry. And who is the mainstay of this industry? Women. Women form 70% of the workforce. And is it good? Yes. And why I say yes? Of course, there are many ethno-social, cultural issues, but women enjoy pay parity, benefits parity, emoluments parity with men. There is no discrimination on the basis of gender. In a lot of other industries, for instance, if we talk about sugarcane industry or a cotton industry, where women are only employed if they undergo hysterectomy, so that you do not have to give maternity benefit. Unheard of in this more than 180-year-old industry. Women have a equal parity gender parity. There is no gender discrimination in this industry, and it has never been. In the last more than 180 years, it has never been. And they are the main workforce. And this industry is the largest employer of women, the largest organized employer of women. Of course, you can talk about the construction business, but they do not have any bargaining power. There is no pay parity. There is no equilibrium of a work-life balance. And there are a whole host of other issues. And why this industry is there where we speak about gender parity? Because this is an industry that not only talks about gender parity, but it follows the credo that was there given by Sir Philip Chetwood. And this credo is enshrined in the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. And Sir Philip Chetwood said that the honor, safety, welfare of my country, first, foremost, always. The honor, safety, and the welfare of the men and women who work with me come next. My own comfort, safety come last, always and every time. And this is an industry that lives by it. This is a dictum we follow. And now I'm talking about the largest workforce. So the question, of course, comes, what about in executive and managerial positions? So where are we there? Tea Board of India, that's the regulatory authority for the tea industry, has a lady controller of licensing. A PJ Group have appointed a lady manager in one of their estates, Ms. Manju Borua. We also have two secretaries of two associations, Dolly Prabha Kolita Sharma and Manisha Sharma of Bharatiya Cha Parishad and Northeastern Tea Association. And of course, I am there as the first chairperson of the Assam Tea Planters Association. That's the oldest tea association based out of Assam. And there is an incoming chairman for Indian Tea Association, Ms. Nayantara Pal Chaudhary. She is an incoming chairperson. At the moment, she is an additional chairperson. So I think in managerial and executive positions, the trickle of women have started. I am sure it will be there, and that trickle will somehow get into a flow, and there will be an equilibrium. But one of the things that always come to my mind is that we should not seek exemptions on the basis of gender, because today we have come far away from emancipation, empowerment. This is the UN theme for this year, is generation equality. We are talking about equilibrium. The theme is generation equality. We are generation equality. Of course, I have my gray hair and I am like across there, but the young ladies out there, they are generation equality. So they have moved on from emancipation from our grandmother's time to empowerment in our time, and now it's generation equality. So we should think more in terms of our abilities, our capabilities. And I'm here reminded about what Abraham Maslow once, the hierarchy of needs of Abraham Maslow, the self-actualization, and that should be our goal, not be pulled back by ethno-social, cultural, and patriarchal mindset. And this patriarchal mindset, though people have a thinking, maybe a perception, maybe that this is an old industry, it's a plantation, it's not a woman's job, but there is no such thing. This perception is not correct, because it is on the basis of your ability, your capability, and it is not on the basis of gender, and it is not tokenism. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I think you're very straightforward. You hit the nail on the head. And it's nice to hear this, that, we don't need to really ask for
tokenism
because we are women. And I truly believe in that, although sometimes, yes, there is a difference between me and a man. And that also I appreciate. So I'm not a feminist by my intellect, but I really believe that we don't need to ask for special favors just because you're women. And a lot of, I hear that resonating from each one of you. So I'd like to really first introduce Dr. Barua. Shripana, I can see you, yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Barua is the head Center for Industrial Extension at the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship. She has extensive experience in cluster development, livelihood promotion, and building startup ecosystems in Northeast of India. While talking to her, the main thing that we wanted to really bring out in this discussion was her interaction of women across from the grassroots to the levels of the ladies who are in this panel, and even more how she's really been helping entrepreneurship amongst women in this region. So Dr. Barwa, over to you. I want to hear from you what you've done, and also enlighten our audience. As you know, this audience is not limited to Bangalore, it's from across the globe. And we're keen to showcase to them what's really happening in Assam and under your leadership.
Thank you so much, Priya, and thank you, Shantana, for bringing me here. And I'm really glad to be sharing my experience, particularly on women entrepreneurship from the Northeastern region. So I'll be focusing basically on my experience of promoting women entrepreneurs from this region. As we all know, India today needs entrepreneurs. There are no jobs. We are talking about demographic dividend on one side, but this dividend can become a bane unless and until we are creating jobs. And when we are creating jobs, who creates job now? There is no job in the government sector, private sector, yes, to some extent, but basically it's the entrepreneurs who are creating jobs. Now, when we talk about entrepreneurs creating job, while there are very few women as entrepreneurs, if you look at the total statistics also amongst the MSME units, excuse me, amongst the MSME units which are registered, I'm just giving the data from the MSME units which are registered, they're only pan-India, it's only 13% women entrepreneurs. Okay, and of course, in Northeast, the situation is slightly different. We have about 19% women-led enterprises. Now, unless and until now, it's been realized everywhere. World Pan, when we talk about the SDG goals, when we talk about UN, everyone is talking that unless and until, since 50% of the population is women, so unless and until we have more and more women entrepreneurs coming up, basically the economy cannot develop.
True.
Now, having said that, let's look at Northeast. The first thing which I said is that we have 19%, which is pan-India, it's 13%. Here we have 19% of women entrepreneurs, which is definitely a very, very encouraging sign. But what I would like to share from my experience is, although we have a large number of, relatively more women entrepreneurs from this region, but basically women are in the very, very tiny and the micro sector. So in terms of big, in the small sector also, if you look at terms of turnover, etc., it's hardly, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs. So it's basically very, very tiny, except for few, very, very few. So what happens, and then that is number one. Second is that, look at the type of sectors in which we find more women entrepreneurs. Now, there is unknowingly, this is a bias, and this also leads to a lot of women entrepreneurs not being taken seriously. Look at the sectors in which we primarily have more and more women entrepreneurs. It's mostly in the handloom and handicraft sector. Then you have in the food processing sector, beauty and wellness industry. So these are few sectors in maybe food processing, and then bakery, confectionery, etc. This is pan-India. I'm particularly talking about Northeast. So what is the implication of this? There are a number of sectors in which women really have not made an impact, much of an impact. And and then when we find more women in the craft and the handloom sector, the second thing which comes up, they just remain at a particular level. Very few women have been able to scale up. Because when we look at handloom and handicraft, these are basically skill-based sectors. And skill-based sectors, the domain is basically at the rural areas. So unless and until there's a connect between at the grassroots what is happening and the entrepreneurs which are there, actually entrepreneurship really doesn't take off. So there is a need, what I would like to flag is that there is a need for more women to look at non-conventional sectors also. Now, this is sadly not the reality. So we have very few women getting into other sectors. The second thing, which is also very interesting, women as there are also a lot of, I have personally done a study for women entrepreneurs of the entire Northeastern region, and the finding is something very interesting. What we find is that, what are the basic hurdles which women face? Number one is access to finance. We look at the government sector, there are about 65 schemes specifically only for women. But how many women entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs have been able to have access to those schemes? Per se, they'll say that there is no need for collateral security. But as we are all aware, most of the financial institutions, etc., they would be asking for some sort of a security. Now, what happens with the women? Till the time she's not married, no property is in her name. Once she's married, again, the property is mostly in the name of the husband. So since she doesn't have anything to give as a collateral, she doesn't get access to finance. So if you look at the percentage of women accessing finance, it is very, very less. Now, these are some of the issues which needs to be really taken seriously. The schemes really need to be implemented in the right earnest. While the schemes are there, there's a problem in access. But the other thing is that there's another thing which we have found through our study is that few women who have taken loan, the repayment of women is very, very good. Because as women who have come up and started their enterprises, they have been doing extremely well because in terms of repayment, because as an entrepreneur, the qualities which are required to be successful as an entrepreneur are more or less qualities which a woman naturally has. In terms of multitasking, in terms of ability, her soft skills, her leadership skills, these are things, certain things which are there always in a woman.
And women in
women
are not cheats.
Yes, yeah, which is always there. So, that is something we need to look into and seriously look at more, encouraging these things, having more access to, am I over with my time, Priya? Am I over with my time?
2 minutes.
Okay. So these are issues, very interesting issues, which we need to look into. And the other thing, today we know that India, without technology, we cannot have any, we've understood even during the lockdown, how the importance of technology, right? So using technology as an enabler to start enterprises is the other factor. We need to encourage more and more women from the technology sector to come up, give the technology solutions. If we look at the engineering colleges, technology institutions, we find very few percentage of women is very less. So number one is that we need more women to come in, have technology, because then women will be taken up more seriously. Otherwise, when we talk about women entrepreneurship, we look at having exhibitions, etc. That should not be an answer. We are creating unknowingly we're creating a bias for women. Yeah. So personally, I feel that women need to come out of that, especially the younger generation. We need to look at that, and even if we are going into the traditional mode, then we need to look really seriously on using technology as an enabler. With that, I would like to wind up later on, maybe. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barua. I'd like to go to Umananda. As you said, I think it's so important, Dr. Barua and Nazrana, that if we don't make, I think all of you said it, that if we don't make the women have their own space and give them it's not empowerment which you're talking about, but they need to feel that sense of freedom. And Umananda, you've been working in the textile industry. Interesting from where you were, from advertising to textile and handloom. But I want to hear specifically from you, not about the textiles, because I know they're gorgeous in Assam and I love the saris there. But what are you doing and working with women to bring about that freedom, I would say, and to help them to make a difference? Because like Dr. Barua was saying, it's not about doing exhibitions, that will make them feel empowered. We need to show them the way. How do we bring in that spirit of entrepreneurship and help them to actually grow where they are and become bigger than just textile workers? So what have you done in this space, if you can share with us, please?
Thank you, Priya, for inviting me to be a part of this exciting session. And hello, everyone. Namaskar. I'm from Jorhat, Assam, and as you said that first you said what I am doing. So as you said, I was an advertising guy. I was working in MNC in Delhi, and then I came back to join my brother who did some diploma course from NIT Kolkata. And we found our farm. It's an MSME unit only. It is called Grass Capital. much inspiration from the Das capital, you know. So we basically manufacture, you know, 5 kinds of apparel brands. 2 of them are, 3 of them are into totally mil-spun fabrics, which are like sportswear, then regular institutional wear and all, which I am not going to talk about here. The brand I'm going to talk about is the Eastern Elegance. That is the beauty of East. So Eastern Elegance is the name of the brand. And we are trying to bring out the plethora of beautiful Assam's handloom. As you know that, as you rightly say, that you love Assam sari. I'm sure you like Muga sari or Eri silk sari. So Assam is rich. Assam is very different. I have traveled mostly to the Indian part of the India. Northern part extensively, southern part to some states. Southern part side, they have some you know, textile knowledge, textile culture, but northern side there is no textile, I mean, say handloom as such. They don't have the concept of handloom. We are so empowered. We are so, I mean, I would like to say we are so blessed that we have lot of varieties, and the more you go deeper into this field, the more you know, intrigued you are, because we have, so first I must start from the tribes of Assam. We have Bodo tribe, we have Karbi, Dimasa, Sutia, then you know, Kolita, then Sunwal, then you know, the Karbi, and all these tribes weave differently. Their looms are different. Their different textile patterns are different. So I mean, like, it is, you cannot explore the textiles of Assam in your lifespan. I must guarantee that. So when I it is just my 10 years, so I must say that I I am very much into this field, and I'm just intrigued to see that you know, that what women, our foremothers, you know, our past generation of women, what they could have done, what they did, man, my God. I mean, like, no man could daunt to go for hand spinning yarn, then weave it over a night, so that in the kingdom era, in the Ahom era, when we were regularly fighting with the Mughals, they used to weave the particular textiles to the warriors, and so that they can go and fight with the enemies. So that over a night, mind it, over a night, a piece of textile, a piece of garment is finished. That is kind of wizardry we had. But after the British came, and then the colonial era, or I must say that that English education system, we kind of lost our traditional skill, our heritage properties, or our strength. It is not just about weaving. It is also about bamboo. It is also about bell metal. Why we have why we kind of sidelined, why we came back, why we kind of drifted from what we had. Maybe because the British wanted you know, the service people, you know, kind of they wanted doctors, they wanted teachers, they wanted clerks, they wanted nobbies, they wanted sirastadars, and different kind of professions. Now, handloom, which was earlier, before the British, which was earlier getting exported to different things, and it was a completely woman-centric. It was completely, you know, it was playing a pivotal role in the economic development, socio-cultural life of Assam. It is still playing. Suddenly, it became the profession, the job of the weaker section of the society, or the marginalized section of the society. Why? Because the learned or the educated people, they believe that weaving is not their kind of, you know, weaving or textile entrepreneurship is not their, not something that they should aspire for. So I believe that that drifting changed us. Otherwise, we could have dominated the world in the with our textiles. You said how we are impacting our women and women in the grassroots level. I must say that we are working basically with the missing tribe in the Majuli district. We are working in the remote part of Jorhat, mainly Kakozan, and some other areas where you know, people easily don't come to the town and go for other professions, because, as I have mentioned, it is still not the chosen profession. There is money, there is respect, there is demand for work, there is continuous demand for work, but still we cannot find skilled professional weavers and skilled professional spinner, skilled professional natural dyers, skilled professional garment manufacturers, all these things. So we are trying our level best to give, if suppose somebody is giving 200 rupees to weave a gamucha, we are giving 300 rupees. We are giving a little bit of extra so that we can protect, proliferate, and promote this handloom thing. And good thing is that there's a enthusiasm about our handloom in the Europe and across India, particularly AD. AD is a hit thing now.
Yes.
It is I must say that it is one of the sexiest fabric that I have come over in my life. Yeah, because you can do because in the last 10 years, what revolutionary has happened is that earlier only hand spun yarn was available. Now mill spun yarn is there. So with the mill spun, you can go for sari, you can go for gents garments, you can go for perennial clothing, you can
So,
go for.
Mananta, you have a very little time left, and I want you to specifically tell me what's being done with the women weavers,
Yeah,
and how are you making a difference in their lives?
yeah.
Have 3 minutes before Mansi comes in.
Yeah, sure. We are working around 70 to 80 weavers directly, and we are continuously trying to impart skill upgradation. That is the first part, because even in handloom now you have to go for jacquard weaving, which is slightly modified than the traditional scheme. This is a challenge. A lot of women are not adopted to have not adopted to this new loom. So we are working on that. So training is one part. We are imparting training so that they can multiply their production, so that weaving becomes easier for them. Then we are also working with their livelihood, because as I say, this is not a profession for them. They weave in their home with their families to take care of, with their social obligations and all these things. So they weave only when they can. So we are now asking them to weave more, that make it a profession, make it your business. So more than weaving only for self or for their family, we are trying to make them professional weavers, so that product multiplication and production could be enhanced, product multiplication could be done, their income could be doubled up.
Great. Thank you so much, Mananda. And
Thank you.
grateful that you're working not just for the cause of women, but reviving the beautiful textiles of Assam. Because you're right to say that I think it's just not the moga or the airy silk, which is known to most of us outside, but there's some amazing fabric which is there. And I think your second part, which you would really bring in, would be about how you would be able to promote it and help these people to become more than just weavers, because weavers community across the country is one of the deprived communities, and
That's
I'm
true.
grateful to you for the work that you're doing. Before Mansi comes in, I would just want to thank each one of you for your time. Looks like Nazrana and Sripana, Shantana wearing almost the same sari also. Very, very pretty ones. But just to sum up our discussion today, I think the fact that what's happening with women empowerment through education, we have Dr. Nazrana, who I know always thought a planter to be a man somehow. So it was lovely to hear you about you. You know, it was like he wears those shorts and the sneakers, and they're moving around with those knee-length socks. So love to see you in the gardens one day, Doctor. And of course, Dr. Barua, about bringing about entrepreneurship and the work that you've done over these decades with women from the grassroots and made a difference in their lives. So thank you all for the work that you've done. And as part of All Ladies League and all the people who are watching here, whoever is keen and wants to connect up with you, you could write into our WEF help desk, and we will connect you with these vibrant ladies and gentlemen. And we'll be very keen to support and make this story come alive. So over to you, Mansi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Priya, and all the panelists. What a beautiful conversation. Really, and thank you, Priya. I want to also thank you for moderating it, with your quintessential way of sending out so much love and generosity for all, really creating this ambience of inclusiveness that we celebrate at the All Ladies League as well. So I want to thank each one of the speakers for bringing their essence, their flavor to the conversation, and really turning on the spotlight on the beautiful state of Assam. We could have really continued this discussion for an hour longer, but all good things do come to an end. But in closing, we'd like to just close with a small celebration of each one of you, as well as your work that you represent from Assam, and for empowerment of women, and sort of really celebrating everything that needs to be celebrated and brought about and shared. So we'd like to present to you, the speakers of our session today, an award on behalf of the All Ladies League at the Digital Economic Forum, Women Economic Forum. We present to you the award titled as Exceptional Women and Leaders of Excellence. We celebrate you, we congratulate you for the work you've done and the people, the leaders that you are. Thank you so very much from the bottom of our hearts. Yes, moment of celebration.
We'd have had far more applause for each one of you, but I guess Mansi and I are trying to make up for the audience.
Yeah, we'll make up. I mean, the audience is there, in large numbers, but it's this is how digital enablement is, that we, our visualization capacities have to be turned on at the maximum. So, here's to celebrating each one of you and your body of work that you represent. And thank you so much. And thank you, Priya, for moderating the session so very beautifully. Could not have asked for, more beautiful Sutradhara to the spirit of Assam.
Thanks, Mansi. And just to all our speakers, we would be sending you virtual certificates of your awards. And if you would like a hard copy, then you need to just give me a shout. You all have my number. We'll work that out. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mansi.
Thank you for having us.
Always bring in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you all. Thank you. Take care. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you.